So, welcome back to Crit Couch. This guy's dancing. I'm Michael.
And I'm Skyler.
And we're going to make him stop dancing.
Yeah, and we're not dancing.
With his little... Yeah, I'm dancing. Fuck you.
Sure is broody. Yeah, I keep looking at like them as the eyes.
Yeah, we
nostrils.
talked about that I think the first time we ran into these guys.
Yeah.
Oh, look, they actually called them beholders. I wonder...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if it was one of those... So, like, I know...
Because that is a licensed thing.
Yeah, and I wonder, because back in the... I mentioned this somewhere in an earlier episode where, like, what was it? Like, TSR had gotten all up on, I think it was MIT with Zork or whatever. I think it was... Yeah, it was during this... It was in Mystic Quest somewhere, I think, that I mentioned it. But, like, I wonder that the result of that that lawsuit, like, eventually got them to lighten up a bit. Because it's... or if it was just that, like, maybe this game was so low profile and because it was in the digital space and... Now, TSR did do... They had, like, the gold box Dungeons & Dragons games and stuff. But I wonder if it was just, like, this was so low profile after a certain point that they just stopped giving a shit. I mean, I don't actually know the answer to that. Hey, look, it's this guy. But this time it's Thanatos. Yeah.
I actually like the color scheme on him more.
He just cures himself.
I brought my pony back. Oh.
Fuck that.
He's a sad pony now.
But yeah, like
that
actually seeing Beholder as the name, you know, we should play through the original Final Fantasy at some point. Just
Let's see.
Well, yeah, because like that game, and I think I mentioned this the last time, but like, you know, the Mind Flayer was like called a sorcerer, even though it's like clearly this thing that has like a tentacle face.
Yeah.
It's definitely more than that.
Hey, it's the cat wizards.
Yeah.
With their weird hair.
We came back. Oh no. No. Yeah, see, I'm healed now. No.
Does fucking everything have cure now?
A lot of things do, and all it does is prolong
I was
shit.
gonna say, it's such like an artificial time padding.
You know, we talked about this in like another episode of this game specifically, but like, I do think the kind of weirdo imbalances in this game characterize a lot of like when something gets designed in kind of a bad way, you become very much more aware of how those systems can go wrong. And when I say that, I mean that in the sense that like all cure spells in all games are always designed to heal someone up. Like that is the purpose of one. And there are plenty of enemies in games that have cure spells. And then there are games where it doesn't feel as bad. It feels something that you have to tactically deal with in the moment versus something that feels like a chore.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of goes back to that idea of, I think with anything that you've created, where like everything is kind of composed of the same like basic elements. And so if something is like put together shitty, then it's less about the constituent elements and more about like the fact that it's shitty. It's like water is made of hydrogen and oxygen, and we're like, cool, it keeps me alive. And like you add another fucking hydrogen to it, and it's like, oh cool, if I drink this, my insides hurt. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Or I mean, even like anything is like that, you know? So like the constituent elements, like I think that's actually might be a big kind of problem with a lot of game criticism across the board, is when you're looking for the reason something doesn't work, you dive really heavily into the constituent elements and being like, well, and I think we maybe got into a little bit of this a while back when we talked about like status ailments, and it's like, well, status ailments just suck. Like, well,
that wasn't my take, but
well, no, I'm not saying that was our take. I'm just saying, like, globally speaking, you know, you could get into that conversation. Because a lot of I ran into a guy years and years ago on a message forum that I frequented, who he was like, elemental damage is just pointless. Elemental damage is the worst. Like, fuck elemental damage. It's just an excessive system. And I mean, to some degree, that I think if you oversimplify something like elemental damage, that can be true, because if you feel like you're just selecting the right damage type,
Paper, rock, scissors.
yeah, then it just feels like you're paper, rock, scissorsing. But if you do something interesting with that elemental damage type, or you maybe take like the Dark Souls approach where, I know I'm not saying that Dark Souls is a perfect system. I do really enjoy Dark Souls. But you end up building a character around utilizing certain elements and being able to like amplify gear or pick certain elemental gear that does have an effect on the way you approach things, because it's not strictly that just like I am now using lightning on this thing. It's that, well, this thing is weak against lightning, but I only have a spear that's weak against lightning, or that has the lightning element. And so now I have to either adjust my play style, adjust my gear style, adjust my build. Like now you're suddenly making interesting decisions around the elemental affinities, and it feels a lot less, I guess, throwaway or intrusive into your overall play scheme, because you've made interesting choices surrounding that, as opposed to just say, well, now I have pressed the lightning button, and so lightning will happen. I think that's kind of an interesting.
Then again, people love Pokemon.
You motherfucker! Jesus! I swear to God, I thought that was gonna be fucking Petrify again. Well, I think Pokemon actually. I think Pokemon still, like, you still can push the fire and water button, but I think there's something also interesting about the way that... You bitch! You... Fuck!
The Dualahan doing that? Or?
No, it's a fucking Manticore. And she's faster than me. I think where Pokemon gets around that is by limiting the number of abilities you have.
Nope, you're just this fight forever.
This is life now.
Yep.
I think Pokemon gets around it by limiting the number of abilities you have, and so even though you've got types, that took longer than I think some boss fights.
It was quite that bad, but
No,
it wasn't great.
It wasn't. But yeah, I think Pokemon gets around it because of that. Like and because there's some functionality. Like you need Surf to get to certain places, and you need I can't remember all the skill names. The one that breaks rocks, like, or cut. You need things to get to certain places. So you're forced to have monsters of certain types on your team. But yeah, so there it's like there's such a breadth, and you have the 4 skills on a Pokemon that it still feels kind of tactical, because you're like, well, I've got 6 Pokemon, 4 abilities per, so I've basically got 24 total abilities at all. It's not like a game where you can have an entire list of every spell, and then you just get petrified over and over
So you can keep
and
using
over
the heal
again.
spell.
Yeah.
Well, and there's an interesting thing, because there's even an extra complexity to that, where you start getting into the like IVs and EVs or whatever.
Oh yeah, the buried system that like you as, well, at least me when Pokemon was new, is like, whatever year old I was, and I'm like, I'm collecting things I like the look of, and then you find that system and you're like, the hell?
Mm-hmm.
This is a game for 8-year-olds, right? And like, nope.
Breed your Pokemon to be perfect. You're kind of talking about like with the healing and stuff, where sometimes it's just a nuisance, other times it could be like, oh god, this is an element I now have to overcome.
Yeah.
Because you also mentioned Dark Souls. I remember whenever sometimes they'd throw the red phantoms at you, or like a player would invade, normally you're fighting like these, what the fuck was that?
That was them having some sort of spell reflect and killing Bloven.
Yep.
Anyway, so
Bloven.
Red Souls, Red Phantoms.
Yeah, you'd see one suddenly pop a little potion or flask the same as you could do, and it was like, uh-oh, it's on now.
It me.
Yeah. As opposed to, your typical monster doesn't have that capability whatsoever. But everything you're running into here seems to have that capability.
Yeah, and that is part of what kind of makes this feel more sluggish. Like,
well, because here's, I think, the internal issue with them having a cure spell is all the cure spell does, because they're not attacking you on that turn. So all they're doing is getting their life back, which means anything you've done that turn is effectively negated. So it's not that there's this interesting sort of push and pull. It's really just that they're basically just rewinding something you've already done, and then that's that. Like,
which I think that comes down to a balance question, because technically speaking, I mean, any cure spell is just rewinding, and you're right, like that's exactly what's happening. But it's like the balance of the cure spell. So one, I can kill things in like 2 to 4 hits pretty much across the board. So nothing ever feels like a threat. But because they can rewind almost exactly what I have done every time, that's what makes it feel like a nuisance, because there's no extra threat added in. It's not like every fight is weakening me to the point where I can't move on. So there's no tension. And then they're just like, well, I'm back up again, and I'm like, cool, that just wasted another spot. And I think when you add that to something like the constant petrification and paralysis, and the things that like make you feel like the game is just slowing you down, all that then I think ultimately results in is me feeling like, well, that's just another turn where I might get petrifucked and have to restart the fight all over again.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed, and again, because you've got the kind of like, now I don't think that permanent game overs in this game I don't think it would have made it if they had that, because with how frequently that seems to happen, people just would have put the fucking game down. I think they needed the retries.
This isn't fair.
But only because the rest of the game was so kind of poorly structured in that regard that like they would have needed to have changed things fundamentally on a balance level. I think, having a third character, like all of this stuff would have needed to happen for that retry option to not exist and still feel like the game was approachable. Why is she holding her tail?
Did you just notice that?
No, but I just thought to ask it.
Oh.
I mean, it seems kind of like a weird thing to do, I guess. Like,
she's got it like a sash.
I mean, I know, like, we all like
to hold our tails.
You do. I mean, yeah.
Do you know what's in this chest?
I mean, it's not exit, so we're probably good.
You open it just kicks you back to the beginning of the dungeon. It's like, that's your punishment.
I think it might be another version of Kaylee's axe.
Oh, sweet.
Because we've already got well, there's a limited number of things we have left. And it's not the best weapon in the game, because the best weapon in the game is actually the last sword you get, and it breaks the pattern, because normally the axes are stronger than the swords, but in this case the sword is the strongest thing. See, just talking about like exactly what we were talking about, this chain curing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the little fucking cat wizard was listening to us and like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck with him this time.
They'll never kill us, watch.
Yeah. Cure. Fuck.
Yeah, that's really strange.
So it's either, I think, because I've got the last helmet, I've got the last necklace. I don't think we get the last spell yet. So it's either the last armor, the last shield, or the last... Oh, it's the last spell. Oh, we did get the last spell. Okay, I was wrong. For some reason I thought Flare came somewhere else. Okay. Gotta flick a switch.
With your axe?
Yep, because that's what the random person told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or not random, I guess it was Otto that told us. Because Otto knows all about switch flicking. That's a...
Switch flicking?
Fitch slicking?
Fish.
Fitch slicking.
Yeah. Oh god, earlier today, because She's just brain dead. I was trying to say coin toss. Toin toss.
Yeah, spoonerisms are great. Yeah, you gotta do the obligatory Unerspism. I learned what that was in 7th grade, what a spoonerism was, and of course, like, you're in 7th grade, and you're like, you don't know, you're like, oh, Unerspism, and then you like go around saying that shit to people because they're like, you don't know what a spoonerism is? It makes you say an Unerspism, and then everyone's like, you're a huge fucking nerd. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, I am.
No in between.
I'm a huge fucking
You don't know
nerd.
what it is to. Yeah.
Do you know what a girlfriend is? I'm like,
oh Jesus.
Oh, no.
Don't you need to? I don't. Didn't you need to like hit that little lever?
I do. But I wanted to kill this thing first. Because God, I feel like there's another chest in this tower, but I cannot remember for the life of me.
Can you look it up?
Yeah, please do. Because I wanna say I should have the next axe by now. But apparently, like, my memory is definitely off at this stage in the game because I did not remember that it was flare in that chest.
Weapons.
And you're looking for the Giant's Axe.
Giant's Axe. Location, it's in the Alive Forest.
Fuck, I missed it. Gotta go back for that.
Excalibur is here.
Fuck, I missed it.
It's on the 3rd or 4th floor. You first have to climb up the tower and then start making your way down another path to be able to reach this chest.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we are basically at the end of this episode.
So I guess next episode we'll find Excalibur.
Yep, and Kaylee's gonna take a fucking nap.
Man, that's what I'm about to do.
It's just so comfortable on the floor here.
Fucking terrible cobblestone.
Blows over here like, I just got shocked!
By a tiny snake.
Ah,
It used to be a lady snake.
who gave us snake lightning?
The purple snake.
You having a good time there, Kaylee?